Welcome everybody to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning we're talking about legacy. You know, I've said many times that in our communities we always figure out what the problems are, but what are the amazing things that are happening right here in central Louisiana and some of those people who are world changers? Well, our guest this morning is one of them. He is a world-renowned artist and an educator, and he's right here in our own backyard in Alexandria, Louisiana. His name is Mr. Morris Taft Thomas, and he joins us to talk about well over a half century of producing art and art sculptures and pieces that have been seen around the world. And this morning we're talking about legacy and the next generation and how each one can teach one and generations can come up and really begin to appreciate art and culture. Mr. Thomas, good morning and welcome back.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
So when I think of you and I think of all that you have done over these many years, almost 40 years in the education system, 50 plus years of just creating and really going around the world and being in the presence of so much greatness and being great yourself. How do you begin to look back at the beginning when it was nothing and you didn't know if it would be anything?
Ancestral. As a matter of fact, my grandfather and my dad was a sharecropper's son. And growing up, I was exposed to just basic things. My grandfather was also a blacksmith on my host plantation. I used to watch him beat on his anvil, beat horseshoes and all those kind of things. I saw it was fascinating. And I had some interest in that kind of thing, and so I used to ask a lot of questions in relative to it. And he would do it in his language. He's a member of the Sissiska, which is the Blackfoot Nation. And so he said, "Katina kulye, yiti na bukitaye, shikti ubi akanatina." And using that native language, he would tell me what he was doing and how he was doing and why. And so
were you able to understand it, or did you just have a sense?
I learned. Yes, I learned. As a matter of fact, I still can speak some of that language. I don't do it often because no one else understands what I'm talking about.
Sure.
But I have fun with my grandkids who are now developing interest in how to speak that language of the ancestors. And I try to emphasize to all of them, I say, look, we can say we are gumbo people because I'm part Irish, part Native American, and different other mixtures. I say, be proud of who you are and what you are. It doesn't solidify you and make you feel less than what you should be.
Sure.
And that's the way I was taught, and that's the way I grew up. And I always had interest in art. My maternal grandfather, my mother's dad, was a Baptist minister, and he also was an artist. And what he did, he used illustrations on a chalkboard on Sunday for Sunday school to keep us interested. And so with that enthusiasm, the art kind of stuck with me from infancy on up to, I guess, to the present time. And so one of the things that got me in trouble in school was that while the teacher was talking about how to congregate a verb, I was sketching, I was doodling. "Taft, what are you doing?" I said, "Is that a simple sentence or compound?" You know? And so at the time I was not really too into English, but I found out that it was played a vibrant part in my life as I matured. And so basically that's how I got started.
And so moving forward, when you were creating all of these things, when did you know, or was there a moment where someone said to you that this could be a career for you?
I think my high school teacher, Mrs. Adams, who was an artist as well, and she introduced me to Frank Hayden, who was world-renowned. Frank Hayden was a devout Catholic. He knew all about Catholicism. And he finished from Notre Dame. And he studied under Ivan Metrovich from the Ukraine. And Ivan Metrovich was also well-renowned. And I had a chance to study under Frank Hayden. And he was one of the first Afro-Americans whose work was exhibited at the Vatican. And so to have that kind of individual even take time to talk with me in high school, it motivated and encouraged me to say, hey, look, I think I can do what he can do. And I recall visiting Frank Hayden's studio, and he was working on a humongous sculpture. And I was walking around looking, of course I was very careful not to touch anything. So he had a piece of clay. He said, come here, son. And he gave me the clay. He said, where do you think this should go? I looked at the sculpture he's working on. I said, I think it should go right there. He said, put it there. I said, really? He said, put it there. And I did. And that was a super thing, that's to allow to see that this man of world renown gave me a chance to touch his work.
Wow.
And so I had those kind of influences that in my life that played a major role in helping me to become who I am and what I am today.
So when you took that piece of clay and he asked you where you thought it should go, because this is his vision.
Yes.
What goes through your creative mind to think about your own vision as part of his vision?
It still lives with me. And when I talk with young people like Kylen, young man here, his work is contemporary, but he is almost touched with a prodigy-like individual. He's quick, he thinks well, he has an interest in life. He wants to see things change from where they are now. And I was interested in what he was interested in. So he said, look, I'd like to talk with you about certain things, about art, how I can improve this, how I can do this, how I can do that. So okay, let's give it a try and see where we go from here.
Now you're giving that opportunity back to him. How do you think that all of the things that you learned over these many years will connect with, the next generation?
I hope it will. We're living in difficult times right now. And at my chronological age, I never thought I would be here long enough to see things reverse and go back to antiquity almost.
Wow.
And it bothers me, so I began to write more because I enjoy writing. But I have almost semi-depressed moods because I'm not an activist like I was when I was growing up as a youngster. And so some of the things I felt that I should do and could do, I've been kind of lackadaisical because I've been almost like in a cocoon and kind of drawn up in there because I see so many things that happened back in the 1950s that are recurring today. And the question is why? Because it's biblical. And we've seen the Bible being fulfilled in a lot of different areas. Okay, what can we do about this ourselves? Why are we sitting back talking about it and not doing anything to make a change? And so this is one thing I think about. And culturally, I love sports. I love football. I played football. I used to box. I taught the martial arts. But at the same time, that is a physical thing. But we need to expose our young people to something that is culture. Because there's a part of the brain that is not being utilized and used to our potential. For example, you can look at a painting if you go to a museum or gallery, and you can sit there for maybe 15 to 20 minutes trying to synthesize and analyze what the artist is actually saying. We have what you call a contextual statement, where if you do something abstractly or do something that is contemporary that you assume the viewer would not be able to comprehend, then you write about it. And so the viewer can go up and look at the statement and read it, say, oh, I see what he's talking about. I see what it means. It becomes relevant. But at the same time, he can get something from that he can use, because another part of the brain will begin to function that is line dominant. Culturally, it opens up.
Wow.
Whether it's music, the visual arts, whether it's dance, in other form that is creative, it opens up a different horizon within you.
Powerful. Let's get a break here, but when we come back, we'll talk about how we will get the next generation, especially those children of color who may not be exposed to art and culture. What's the key to getting them involved and understanding that there's more than just sports? Our guest this morning is artist and educator, world-renowned artist, Mr. Morris Taft Thomas. Stay with us. We're back with more after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. It's always a great pleasure to sit at the feet of greatness. And sometimes we forget about the greatness that lies within our own backyards. Our guest this morning is educator and world-renowned artist, Mr. Morris Taft Thomas. And he joins us to really talk about the journey to greatness, but the legacy and how we can make that impression on the next generation. And as we sit here, you were talking about your age and all of the things that you've done on this journey. But now you're thinking more about how to take what's in you, out of you, and give it to the next generation. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought about legacy and my legacy. And I want to do something, at least something that is positive. And you have to work at it. It's not an easy thing to do. Because once you start, sometimes people look at you and say, what is he trying to prove? What do you think he's doing, you know? And why do we listen at those things? Because we're human, it's part of the flesh. But all of us, after we reach a certain age in life, we need to think about, okay, what can I do to make life different or better for someone else? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? And what come to mind for me, first of all, I want to please our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And why I'm concerned about that is because what he has given unto me is for me to use in a positive way. I write, I paint, I sculpt, I do all those things. But it's not anything because of what I've been trained, and because like guys like Frank Hayden and others. Ultimately, I have to go and find out what works for me as an artist. How can I be different from other artists and yet have my own individuality and yet make a statement that is positive? And so those things
Did it take a long time to figure out what your identity as an artist would be?
I think a lot of experimentation. Oddly enough, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 5 o'clock, and I use the first 45 minutes for meditation. I meditate. It's solid meditation. And then the next 34 minutes is verbal. I'm talking to Jesus. I'm talking to my angel. And they give me the type of impetus I need, not only to get through the day, but to get up and do some work, something that is good. I love nature. So I go outside and watch the rabbits, watch the birds and those things. And they also inspire me to hear them and to see them and that kind of thing. And so it's a combination of entities that come together to make me who I am and what I am in life.
And then so you started, as we talk about legacy, thinking about the endowments that you could make and how you could sow into the next leaders in Central Louisiana.
I'm concerned about our youth, not necessarily any particular age level, but all of them. And because I did teach art history at LSUA and also at the main campus in Baton Rouge. And McNeese and what have you. And so I've come across a lot of young people who were not necessarily interested. They were there because mom said, hey, you need a college degree.
Right.
And that it doesn't work for everyone. You got to find your own niche, but be successful in life, but also do something good with your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. And so the scholarship thing I thought about for a long time. And I decided to give a scholarship to LSU. I've offered a scholarship down to, well, this young man attends school in Lafayette.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest Gaines was a good friend of mine. And so I would go down to his center on St. Mary Street on the third floor up there. And we would drink coffee and just talk and have a good time. And so all those kind of things I thought about. And I said, okay, now what can I do? And so this is how the first scholarship came about.
Mm-hmm.
It was for $10,000 in memory of my wife who passed away in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the memorial scholarship. And it's offered to young people that who has an interest in doing something with their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be not a large amount,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be something to maybe pay for books or
Absolutely.
gasoline or
Mm-hmm.
help them do something that need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it was important to do this. So this is a start. And my intentions is that I've been blessed as an artist to, like you say, I guess I hate to use the word world-renowned, but no. Now, I hate to say it, but yes, just about all over the world. And that's God.
Yeah,
That's
a
Jesus.
blessing.
And so when I think about that, then I say, well, okay, why knock it? It was nothing I was seeking or looking for. It just happened.
Mm-hmm. Your gifts made room for you.
Yeah, it did that. And so I'm giving back. And so in the future, I plan to give $10,000 per semester.
Mm-hmm.
I see no reason why I should not do that because I've been blessed that I can do that.
Sure.
And it's my hope that with this, the young people will utilize it in the positive way and do something with their life and come along and help someone else.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, especially for children of color, black and brown children, could be a motivator to get them involved in the arts? Because I know for many of us who are not exposed to museums and art and understanding how to look at the abstract or how
Mm-hmm.
to look at the contemporary, some of us have never been exposed to that. What do you think is a way to open that world up?
If we can get the parents involved. I know it's like sometimes on Saturday when I pass by one of the local schools that have the little basketball activity for the kids, and parents out there by, I won't use the word hundreds, but maybe a couple of hundred parents are there, supportive,
Mm-hmm.
because this is something they understand.
Right.
And so they can identify with this. But we need to also expose them to things
Mm-hmm.
by inviting them to come to the library and bring their kids to the library. Just look at the book and read. And there are many wholesome things that take place in your library.
Right.
You have your imagination that you use. You can go to any place in the world you want to.
Do you think that we have not really exposed our kids to their imagination and where it can take them? You know, we really are not talking about
We're not.
the creative side of the brain.
That's correct. We're not doing that. And I think we look at this, we say that there are some parents who don't like contemporary things like using a computer, that they don't really know the aspects of it. Even with the new cell phones, type of cell phones, texting, all those kind of things. And so they withdraw more and more away from education.
Mm-hmm.
But they still can be supportive. And the library is one of the key places they can go to get started with the kids.
Mm-hmm. And none of us really, well, I won't say none of us, but many people, the first field trip that they may be thinking for their kids may not be the museum.
That's correct.
Especially if we've never been exposed to it. And so, you know, what would your idea be of a family that had never been to the museum, how to experience that for the first time. Can you remember the first time that you went into a museum?
Yeah, I can recall that. And to make it interesting, like I said, my dad was a sharecropper's son, and he did not have a chance to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
He had to stay and work in the field with my grandfather, along with other sibling brothers. The girls went, but they stayed until 12 noon. Then they came back home and worked at home. But he had a thirst for knowledge himself. And I recall talk with my grandfather using his language when I finished college, and asked him why he didn't allow my dad to go to school. And he said he apologized to my dad because the other boys didn't have the interest my dad had. And my father, when his sisters came home that afternoon, they would read the little books to him. That's how he was able to learn different things. How to write his name, Taft, T-A-F-T.
Wow.
And so I recall all of those things as part of my history. It's part of the essence of my being. And so by doing so, I embraced that, but also enlarged upon that. Because he says, son, I want you to have a better life for yourself than I have. I want you to be somebody. I'm going to send you to the best schools I can. So all you got to do is go and learn.
Wow.
And that was his philosophy, and that's mine.
What was the first museum that you went to? You recall? First time you went into a museum.
I really don't recall, but it was in Baton Rouge area. As a matter of fact, during that time, I think I was the only one of color that was in there, along with my family. And everyone looked at us like we're out of place. What are you looking for? But my dad was a strong man. He wasn't going to back off of that because he wanted me to see what's in there.
Let me get a break here, but when we come back, we'll meet the next up-and-coming artist, and we'll talk about how he is experiencing the arts through the eyes of a master. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning, we're talking about legacy, and it's always great to visit with people in our communities that are world-renowned. Sometimes these people are like hidden jewels in our community, in our state. Our guest this morning is artist and educator, Mr. Morris Taft Thomas, and he's also joined by a young man that he is mentoring, sharing his gifts and making an impartation of his legacy into the next generation. And so we welcome Kylen Guilbeaux to the show. Kylen, good morning and welcome.
How are you?
Good, good, good. So tell me about how you and Mr. Thomas, how you met.
Me and Mr. Thomas, I believe, had the same work at the Stella Jones Gallery in New Orleans. And they asked me, hey, do you mind dropping off some work to Mr. Thomas? And I was like, sure, okay, no problem. Because Alexandria, Opelousas is not far at all. So I had the pleasure of meeting him, and it was amazing. Like, he was nice. He was helpful. Like, because a lot of people say they will help you, but he's really about it. And he's been teaching me a lot.
And so what did you think, Mr. Thomas, when you welcome Kai into your studio and you start to have the conversation?
I saw how sincere he was. And I've talked with young people before who had interest or enthusiasm, but it kind of waned. They didn't want to make a commitment to work hard. So anything that you get into, regardless of what the area of specialization, it takes some dedication, faith, and all those things, and hard work. And it doesn't come easy. You have to kind of work toward the goal that you're trying to seek. This young man showed everything that was necessary, I think, to be successful in life. And he said, I got to get my art out there. I need to do such a thing. And so I say, okay. Are you serious about it? He said, yes, sir. You going to work hard? Yes, sir. Going to dedicate yourself? Yes, sir. So let's go for it.
Wow. And so, tell me about your journey, Kai, into art.
I know I started in school at like 4. I was young. I used to paint all the time, and I went to high school with it, and it was always all my electives because it was my easy A because I was really good at it. So.
So were you like good at sketching? Did
Everything.
people say everything?
I don't know when it comes to it, like anything. I feel like I have a Midas touch because it just comes out really good. Like oil painting, drawing, sketching, animating, photography. Because I'm an art nerd, so I'm gonna go figure it out.
You're an art nerd.
I'm an art nerd.
What did your folks say? Like when you're in high school, and do they say, well, that's something maybe you could fall back on? Or
You know what's funny? They pushed football a lot for me. But my family also pushed art even harder because I was going to be a dentist and they was just like, stick to art, stick to art, stick to art. So it was going great. I went to college for it. I got my BA and that was 2019. I've been working full time since then.
So what did you think when you go into Mr. Thomas's studio and you start to see his work? What do you think?
I'm just amazed that a black person did that.
Why so?
There's seldom black artists and then seldom very talented black artists, especially from Louisiana. So I was just like, oh, I've seen another artist. He's from my area. I could do it too. So.
Wow. And so what do you start to tell him, Mr. Thomas, about the journey? Because you've now paved the way for young artists, young black artists like Kai. What do you tell him about, taking that road, taking that path that, when you couldn't even at one point get your art into an art gallery because you were a black man?
Yeah. Exposure. And the most important thing is being able to communicate effectively. And also because of the fact that how frequent art changes, like everything else. Like if the cars change every year, everything changes. So does art. And as an artist,
I didn't know that.
Yes, as an artist, you need to be conscious of that. And so you need to keep abreast of new technology, new techniques, new way of doing things, but you still keep your identity because you have to have a niche that you do or something that's special that represents you, that is different from anyone else. So it's highly competitive. It's not an easy thing. It's highly competitive, but you can do it if you're dedicated.
Wow. And so for you, Kai, what do you think your niche is, or are you still trying to create that niche?
Mine, I think, has a lot to do with black excellence. I didn't like when I was in college, they thought like the white students were kind of better than us. But so with me, when it comes to art, I always try to do the best because I know I'm representing black people. That's my goal.
And so, were there many black kids in your class in college?
I was the only one. The only one.
And so when you graduate from college, how do you start the journey of putting your work out there?
For me, my journey was different because in college I didn't have the great experience because I was the only black kid, and it was like the Black Lives Matter movement, so I didn't get a lot of support or like anything from my professors or like students. Cause I was only
Were you doing a lot of art around
definitely,
Black Lives Matter?
Definitely, because I feel like you can't not talk about it. I don't like when, because I feel like I'm black, I'm gonna make work structure on black people. That's my life. So, and they did not like that at all. So I kind of just hit the ground running. In 2019, when I finished school, I started working at like BET and stuff like that, and that's kind of how my art career kind of formed.
And so tell us about your experience at BET. What was that like?
It was fun. You met a lot of people, and you learned a lot. Learned a lot. Work ethic. I feel like down south we have a good work ethic, and up there they don't have a good work ethic. So they love us because you know how to work hard. So.
And so when you met Mr. Thomas and he said yes, he would mentor you, what did that look like for you in terms of taking what you have, your gifts and your creativity, and learning some of the many...
Have you ever seen The Matrix?
I have seen it.
I feel like he don't make Morpheus.
Okay.
That's what I feel like.
Mhm.
If you're offending me, that's what I feel like. Cause it's like, okay, he's older than me. He knows way more about this than me, and I'm young and talented like Neo. I'm just coming in. And he's just like, I could show you how to do this. That's how it in my brain works. So
I can show you how to do this.
Yeah.
And so, what has that journey been like, sitting at his feet, learning how to do this?
I'm most excited I've ever been to go to the studio because I got so many ideas on to work on and just knock out. And it's just like, now he's helped I feel like he redefined like the talent I had. Now it's like, all right, you gotta think more, and so it's just like, all right, now.
So now he brings the wisdom.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does that do for you, Mr. Thomas? Does that give you like a reinvigoration to have this young person so full of ideas and energy and
yes.
newness? What does that do for you?
It does. I have to smile because I kind of retrogress and go back and think about how I came up, my experiences. And I see a lot of similarity, just a different era in life
Mm-hmm.
between he and I. And so it has so far been a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the fact that everything that you had to go through in those early years just to get your work seen and exhibited, what do you now tell him and the generations that might come behind him about getting their work exhibited?
Don't stop. Continue. Don't quit. Think about it. I am somebody. Nothing's going to stop me from becoming the best I can be.
That's awesome. And so before we leave the conversation, I just want you to remind people about the scholarship named in memoriam for your wife and what you hope that the next generation of not only artists but professionals will glean from your experiences.
Well, it's something that I thought about for some years, and I procrastinated, like I assume some others who are capable or able to do it financially has not taken that move, or made that move.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started, hey, look, you need to go ahead and do this now. So I decided to do it. And it's been gratifying to me and my family that this has taken place.
Mm-hmm.
And I've received a lot of positive feedback that, hey man, that's a great thing that you did.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to give this a try myself. And so it's been motivational for me and something that I'm happy that I decided to do this.
Absolutely. But Kylen, it is just, it's so refreshing to see what the future holds. And we just hope that we'll all take what we have and we'll pass it on to the next generation, because if each one teaches one, then we get better as a people and we get better as a community. So thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and all that you will do. And Kai, we can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you.
Indeed. Hey everybody, stay with us. We're back right after this.